How you doing? Happy Thursday. Happy Thankful Thursday. Come on in the room. Let's get it on, y'all. I'm excited. How you do? How you be? What it do? How it do? How it do? That's not quite a saying. I made that one up. I be excited sometimes. But anyway, hi guys. How you be? How you doing? What's up? Uh hey mom. Okay, so I am going to you already know it's a share party, right? Y'all need to share. So come on in. I am excited about today. I know y'all probably like, well, Paris, you did not put a new series up. And like I told y'all, it's for a purpose. To be honest with you, I think I might just not do a series for May because it's a lot of transition stuff going on. But and so I might pick up the series back in June and I might just speak on my heart in May. But I do have a topic for today. I absolutely do. And I just think it's hilarious to me, actually. I think it's hilarious. And I don't feel crazy when I say I think it's hilarious. Okay, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Do y'all remember in February, I said that I was going to start, that I was going to deem February as Men's Mental Health Month, and I did, right? And it's hilarious because like they have to actually have a Men's Mental Health Month, and then I didn't even realize that there was a Mental Health Month, and I was like, whoa! So this whole show pretty much is about mental health, right? So I was like, well, there's no point in me having to do it. But then I've been hearing people in my circle, in my psychology circle, talk about it, and so I'm like, why? I gotta celebrate it. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And even though that's what we talk about every single time, I wanted to make sure that I highlighted some facts today that you might have not known. And I want to do a little work. And I feel like today is a day that we can kind of dig into some stuff. So if you guys have questions, if you have things that you want to ask that you never got a chance to, or you were just waiting to just throw something out there, today is the day. Anything that you want to ask, you can ask. I said I have an answer. I will say I will try to point you in the right direction. I will give you what I do know. And if I don't know the answer, I will find somebody that does. That's where I'm at in life right now. But some fun facts. Like I said, we all know that mental health awareness is still very necessary because people still are not. I mean, the stigma is still there, right? It's really still there. And so there are levels to how we can make that happen. And the first step is literally for you to become conscious, right? Because you can't really help anybody else until you become conscious. And honestly, to me, the goal is just for you to become conscious. The rest is extra, right? Sometimes people say, oh, they come with these big goals. Oh, I want to get healthy. I want my whole family to be healthy. I want everybody at my job to be healthy. And it's like, that's wonderful. But the reality is that that's not always going to be your truth. So the goal for you is for you to get healthy. And then from your healthy standpoint of view, then you'll know what you need to do. Then you'll know how to protect your peace. Then you'll understand how to disable your triggers. Then you'll know how to set correct boundaries. And if this is the first time on the show, welcome. Those are all words that I use quite often. And so I wanted to make sure that, I'm being friendly. I definitely want to make sure that you're getting what I'm putting down. And in this case, I'm talking about how I want this to become a household conversation. I want you to once a week do a check-in. If you have kids, talk to them about how they feel. If you have a spouse, talk to your spouse. If you have family members that you get together with, check on them before something happens, right? We find ourselves, I told someone one day, I said, like, I'm tired of family just getting together for funerals. we should be more intentional and say, hey, we're getting together because we want to. And then sometimes if you find family members that don't want to get together, then check on them. Don't ever just think they're just standoffish or something. Maybe life is happening to them and they just can't get around it, and something else might be going on there. And instead of us pointing the finger, let's figure it out. They might want to be left alone, or they might not want to be left alone and don't know really how to deal. Everybody's not as social as others. So it's just about being intentional. But more importantly than, of course, I want my family to get together and do things and spend time with each other. But I also, I don't want that to be the how to say this, that shouldn't be the goal, right? Yes, we all want our families healthy and happy and all being together and doing well, but not to obsess on that so much so that you get knocked off of your path. And I'm not actually, I'm telling you, I've seen it happen too many times when you're trying to pull somebody along. I love it. It says you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. It's so true, because oftentimes when you care about somebody, you learn something new, you want to share it with them, you feel like you've seen how it's changed your life, and therefore you wanted to help change their life. You don't realize that while you're meaning well, if that person is not receptive of the help that you're trying to give, then you're pulling them at this point. And that's oftentimes when I talk about false burdens, because you're pulling somebody versus them willingly walking with you or willingly coming along. So we have to be super careful about that. So my goal is to have you to concentrate on your healing. And so Mental Health Awareness Month is there's different spectrums, right? Depending on how aware you are about how much you need mental health integrated in your life. You might be somebody where this is the first time you've heard about this conversation. You're like, why are we even talking about this? So then you are on the low spectrum and you're like, okay, let me just get a few things that might help me that the average person can do. Or you could be somebody that deals with it often and you get to a point where you're like, wait, I know everything I need to know, but there's always something that you can add. And so there might be something more in depth there. So it's levels to this style. It's levels to everything. So anybody that's new, hi, feel free to introduce yourself, tell me where you're from. And if you have any questions about mental health, anything, drop them in the comments and we're going to take care of it today. So I want to give you a couple stats first. I want to, kind of pull it in here as to why it's a big deal and why we make time to talk about it. Because to be honest with you, most people are not talking about this still. You do see some people, but it's not widely, it's not being spread enough, right? So here's some data points here. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness every year. And mental illness is different from mental health. I like to say that because the reality is we all have a mental health, just like you have a physical health, just like you have an emotional health, just like you have anything else. So a spiritual health. So health is just the maintenance and taking care of things, but mental illness is when it goes into the point where it's diagnosable. So the reality is that's a big number. I need y'all to hear that. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. And it doesn't just say that they know they have it. A lot of times what we need to realize is that they're not aware that they have mental health. They're not diagnosed, right? So the big thing is you might not understand that you are in a mental health episode because you don't know what it is. So let's be more aware what the signs are so we can understand. 1 in 5. I need y'all to hear that. 1 in 5. So y'all keep acting like this is really like not common. And I'm trying to tell you, it's so much more common. You just don't realize what it is. Like last episode when I was talking about breathing, I was telling people a lot of people have anxiety attacks. And oftentimes you don't know you're in anxiety attack until way after. Until somebody, or if somebody that does know it can let you know that's what you just experienced. But I had a friend that said, "Hey, I had an anxiety attack and I didn't know what it was at the time." it felt like a heart attack, or it felt like you just didn't know what was going on. So oftentimes you can be in a mental health situation or mental illness situation and not be aware. So my goal is to bring awareness to the situation, because it's way more. 1 in 5, guys. I need to say that again. 1 in 5 U.S. adults. So if you sitting on here talking about not me, Paris, it's never happened, I guarantee most than likely it probably has. Okay. So the next one is 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. Now let's talk about serious. What classifies as serious? Well, you've seen mental breaks. You've seen people that have mental breaks. And oftentimes when that happens, it's like I call it a tear from reality, right? It's when people have had a mental breakdown. You've heard that before, nervous breakdown, or you've seen people just literally, they've gone to the point where they're separated from the realm of reality. They might become delusional. They might even do some harm to themselves or other people. So it's a wide range, but we kind of know what it means. That's the part you guys really know, the serious mental health issues. And so that number you probably thought was way smaller, but 1 in 20, that means if you have 100 people in the room, 5 of them have experienced serious mental health illness each year. Did y'all hear me? If you have 100 people in the room, 5 of them have experienced serious mental health issues. So y'all stop acting like it's not either you. Stop acting like it's not your family. Stop acting like you don't know somebody who has dealt with it. It's no point to look down on anybody or judge. It's just the same way if somebody has cancer. It's just the same way if someone has alcohol abuse. If that's the illness. These are things that we need to talk about and have awareness about so we can know how to go forward. Okay. So that's a number. Here's another one. 1 in 6 U.S. youth aged 6 through 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. Hear that, y'all, especially for y'all that have children, or even if you don't have children, if your aunt, your uncle have a loved one. 1 in 6 youth from the ages of 6, y'all, starts at 6, okay, from 6 to 17 years old has a mental health disorder. Each year, 1 in 6. I need you to hear that. These numbers are not a joke. These numbers are not a scare tactic. They are, if you want to look it up, go Google it. You can even go, I'll give you a website where you can look these facts up yourself. It's true. So that's something that I'm going to start talking about more often too, is mental health with kids, because I think that we act as though it is something that can't happen and touch our families. And I think we need to be aware and be better to make sure that we are safeguarding if we see symptoms and that we know what to do with them, right? Like I told y'all, it was a joke. It was a meme about in the Black family when the kid said, "Mom, I'm depressed." And she said, "You better depress your blankety to the kitchen and do those dishes." And, it was meant to be a joke. People laugh, ha, ha, ha. But the reality is that's part of our stigma. We don't really believe you can be depressed. We don't believe a kid can be depressed. We believe not in our household. We believe it's a cop-out, just be happy, you've been depressed for attention. And we don't understand it's a whole realm around it. Or, there you go, pray the depression away. Like, if you are a good enough a person that you have a connection good enough to God, then you can pray and have him take depression away. And the reality is you can pray, but you also might, if you still have issues with it, then you need to get more help and not feel bad about that. Because just like you can pray and go to the doctor and get your medicine, you can pray and go see a therapist. Sorry, not sorry. Y'all know how I feel about that. And if you don't know how I feel about it, you just found out. So, yeah, so that's another one. So I do want us to talk more about the kids because it's a real thing. Here's some other stats. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by the age of 14, the young age of 14. 50% of mental health illness issues begins at age 14. So we sitting here thinking our kids we don't know that they have it. I'm trying to tell you, you might not just have a defiant child. You might have somebody you're starting to see the beginning of their mental illness. And you need to take notes of what that looks like so you can help them. Not that you can judge them, not that you can cry and be depressed about it, or not that not use the word but depressed, but not that you to get distressed and make them the black sheep, but you want to make sure that you're dealing with it right, because so many people don't know how to deal with loved ones that have mental illness. So many of us don't know how to deal with it. And so now we're in situations where it's a very stressed out thing, and it can be violent, it can be bad, it can be stressful, and we don't want to cause any more undue stress more than necessary, right? So it says 50% of all lifetime mental illness starts by age 14, and 75% starts by age 24. So if it has not started by age 14, it is most likely going to start by age 24. What does that mean for us? Think about it. 14, you start high school. Okay, so when your social status is changing, your confidence is changing, the things that you enjoy, your friend circle, if you're thinking about how people perceive you, you're starting to have a strong sense of self-identity, or either a low sense of self-identity, and you're trying to figure it out. So when you start to try to figure it out and if things don't go really well, or you have something else that's lingering there, it's going to start protruding at that point, because now I'm not just doing what mama tells me, I'm not doing what daddy tells me, or whoever my caregiver is. I'm actually operating in my own realm here. And depending on how comfortable I am with that, it will show, and it will start to develop. And then a lot of times we start going inward, right? That's when people start realizing and start talking to themselves and having deep thoughts and, really analyzing and being critical and thinking. So that makes a lot of sense. And then if it doesn't happen right around that age, things are wonderful, good, or whatever, or just normal, 24, think about that. What do we say? I'll be 40 in a couple months. Boop, boop. One thing I always say is that by the age in your 20s, I always say that's your experimental years. Hey, Auntie Cynthia, love you. Those are your experimental years a lot of times. I'm not saying I'm advocating for anybody to experiment. I'm just being honest. Most times when you're 20, in your 20s, they say that they give you a pass to kind of just, you're figuring out who you are. And so in that point, the reality is to say, okay, well, by mid 20s, you're going to realize if you're really having more than just trying to figure who you are out, but you're going to start realizing if something's off, or you're going to start having episodes, right? So that's important for the people that are, even if it's not you that having a mental health issue, for you to understand that's kind of when you start realizing what is going on. Okay. And so my last fact is here. Suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst people aged 10 to 34. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. I was just kind of like, whoa, like, sheesh. I really was surprised by that. I was surprised that it said 10, and the reality is that more people face it than you will ever know. Most people who are facing it don't walk up to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about killing myself. That's not what most people do. And I hate how we are very judgmental about it. It's almost as though if it happens, well, what's wrong with that person? What happened to them? Can't they get themselves together? You have no idea what happens when somebody gets to a dark place. And for you to judge them, you don't have the right to. You have no right to judge a person. You have no understanding of what's going on. You say you didn't know such a young age. Listen, the saddest case happened, and I'll never forget. Makai is 18. When he was 10, there was a 10-year-old girl who hung herself in a closet of her bedroom because she was being bullied at school. And I'll never forget that story. I'll have to figure out that girl's name because I think about her often. But she hung herself in her closet because she was being bullied at school and she couldn't take it. And I was so sad for her because my son was 10 at the time. And I couldn't imagine the idea of a child that young wanting to take their life and them not seeing any other way around it because they would be bullied. And so I thought about how sad that was. And the reality is, like I'm looking now, it says suicide is the second highest cause of death from the ages of 10 to 34. And that little girl was 10. I would have never thought that. And so I wonder if there were signs. I'm not going to judge the parents or not. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm saying, like, was she having issues prior to that, or was it just private, or did it just pop up? The scariest thing about suicide is that a lot of time when it happens, and if someone was successful with it, which I don't like to use the word successful, but if it happened and that person lost their life because of it, oftentimes you hear people say, I never saw it coming. I never thought that. Or sometimes, somebody seems so nice and so outgoing. And reality is that it's not always something people are not going to walk around with it tied to their forehead. Hey, I am suicidal. That's not what's going to happen. Unfortunately, you just have to be kind of close to people and check on them. And if you see signs, just check in more. And a lot of times you don't get what they're going through. If they're in a really dark space, in a very dark moment, judgment, leave it somewhere else. What you should do is offer just sometimes being there. Sometimes being there is enough, or them understanding that they have somebody that cares about them. So, I'm actually going to put the phone number to the suicide prevention line up here. I really haven't done that before, but I just feel like while we're talking about it, I just want to make sure I put it there, because at the end of the day, I don't know who's watching me, and people could have, you just never know. And so I just want to make sure that I'm being sensitive enough to say, okay, you know what, if you are going through a hard time, let me give you a resource. So, but anyway, that's just something I want to put out there, because I don't think enough people talk about it. I just don't. I don't think enough people talk about it. And so then we find out things happen, and then we're like, oh, you know, we can't, we could have helped somebody out if we would have been aware. Amanda, hey Amanda girl, how are you? You said checking it in is key. Yes, and that's the thing. And that's what I even wanted today to be. We're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, and about, I'm giving some statistics that we don't realize, but the reality is this is also a mental health check-in. Like, let's talk about it, because guess what? Sometimes you don't even realize you're going through something, And so, we want to be all really thoughtful. Auntie Cynthia, you said it's a hidden agenda. You can have a smile on your face, but be feeling hopeless inside. And that's a really good way to explain it, because I think that's what's confusing to some people. Like, oh, that person just seemed happy, or they just did this, or they just came on a trip, or they just had this, and don't understand how. Haven't y'all heard of postpartum depression? I mean, you have a kid that you love and all this other stuff, and then something happens, and you literally you can kiss your kids, and then something terrible could happen if somebody doesn't catch the symptoms and signs of that. So that's the part about it. That's the scariest part, is knowing that your loved ones can be suffering in silence, because guess what? Nobody, again, wants to talk about that. They don't want to seem like they broken, right? Nobody wants anybody. Let's say something else. I'm gonna help y'all out, family. Don't be the person that is unknowingly judgmental and unknowingly, what's the word I want to use? Offensively, what's the word? Patronizing, offensively patronizing. Like, if you find out that somebody's been dealing with that, or you don't know they're doing, if you don't really talk to them like that, and you find out you're just trying to be nosy and in their business, and you walk up to them and say something like, oh, I heard you had a situation. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's fake and see-through, and nobody wants that. I promise you're doing more harm than you are helping. So we have to be very careful. This is why we have the conversation. It's not for me to throw shade at nobody, because somebody might say, well, I'm just trying to help. Be genuine, because disingenuousness, people, they'll say, that's why I never told anybody. You know, if you're gonna, you have to be very careful with that. It's a very sensitive subject. The best thing you can do is just be there. Offer kind words, offer hope. You know, be kind, speak and just be genuine. Hey, how you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? You know what I'm saying? You need to talk. You know, I'm here. Even if you don't want to say nothing, really. I'm just here. You want to watch a movie? You want to grab some food? Sometimes you just got to show up. Stop trying to figure it out. If you're not a therapist, you don't know what to say, just say, hey, I'm here, and mean it. Say I'm here and mean it. That's a real thing. Say I'm here and mean it. And even if that person, you know, they say they don't want it right then, that's fine. But just keep offering it. You know, they might say one day, they might surprise you and say, okay, you know, actually, I wouldn't mind having some company. And you just never know. Amanda, you said here, you said, and just being able to identify your own triggers and symptoms is important and valuable. Speaking for myself, I got to pull on my own coat at times. Listen, Amanda, and that's so real, because sometimes you can get stuck in a moment and you don't even realize what your triggers are and what these symptoms are. And you can sink into a deep depression. Remember I told y'all when I talked about depression at one time, we have situational depression, we have clinical depression, and then we have what I call regular depression. Situational depression is when certain situations bring on just a brief period of depression. Usually you come out on your own. Clinical depression is usually when you are diagnosed with having a chemical imbalance and you probably need a medicine, or either you have to have a regimen in place to help out because it's something that's chemical based. Chronic depression is that when it happens and you feel like this all the time, and also medication can help with that or not. But to know, or you just have bouts of depression. The reason I'm saying that is because sometimes that means I believe that every single one of us has had a moment in time where we fit through some form of depression. I'm not asking you. If you get on here trying to tell me you've never had depression, I'm not going to believe you. So you might as well keep it to yourself. I'm sorry. I just don't. We all have dealt with it in some layers. Sometimes mine's not going to look like yours. Yours not going to look like mine. I'm a happy person. You're not going to ever find me really moping around too hard. When I have a hard time, I'm very verbal. You're going to hear it. I'm not going to really withdraw. So mine's going to show up different from somebody else that kind of pulls back. We all deal with it. So like you said, Amanda, you have to know what your own triggers are. You have to know. Can I give you an example? So the last couple of weeks, I have been stressed out. I've had a lot of stuff going on in a lot of different arenas of my life. And I realized I started back emotional eating. And I'm like, I realized that stuff happens and you pick food as the comfort. It's the comfort. It's the thing. You know, we all have our vices. We all have our things. But for me, that was a very comfortable thing that I thought I put down. I thought I got over it. And in the time of extreme, like I haven't been in this amount of stress in a long time. In extreme stress, I think it was just too comfortable to sit into. And I'm like, oh my God, I am going back into old habits that are horrible. And I know better. And I know better. And you know the sad part about it? When you get too deep in that thing, it's kind of hard to come out. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily the depression, but I mean, it was almost like I couldn't come out that old habit, that old coping mechanism. And I should have recognized my triggers to it. I should have recognized what was happening. And I should have had like a plan about what happens when I feel that way. I think I'm going to do something like that. I think I'm going to create an emotional heaviness plan. I'm going to give it a better word than that. But I'm thinking, you know, I told you I like to plan. And I'm wondering if I was able to say, hey, this is what I'm used to doing when these triggers come down. What can I do in place of that so that if it happens, I can do something different? and implement something. So that and what I used to do was I used to say, oh, I'll just eat healthy snacks. But I want to get to a point where I'm not even eating. I have to be, see, for me, it's serious. I don't want to get stressed out and go eat. Now, I'm not going to lie and sit here and say that I'm going to run a 10-mile marathon. That might not be for me. But whatever it's going to be, it has to be something different. And I have to be able to notice that. So, Amanda, that was a really good reminder. And that's good for us, too. Sometimes remember when I was telling y'all about when COVID happened? You're in the house, you got on your stretch pants, you got your shorts on, and you're not realizing you're gaining weight. And so then when you find to put on real clothes, you're like, wait a minute, it's a little tight. That's the reality check because you're not noticing things to let go and all that other stuff. So same thing. If you know that there are certain signs that tell you that you're slinking back into a depressive state, we should probably almost have alerts like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, I haven't got out the bed in 2 days. That's not good. Okay. Yeah, let me snap out of this because I know that if I go too deep, it's going to be hard to pull me back out. So, or if, it's even stuff like I even noticed that when I was at home working, I didn't get dressed up a lot. And so I kind of like doing this live because it requires me to do something to my hair and my face. And I've learned, and it makes me feel good to kind of to present myself like I've heard people say, well, you don't necessarily feel good, do something, look good, and it will help you to feel good. And that's true, right? It's just the idea that, you can kind of say, okay, well, let me transform this day in some kind of way. And so, but yeah, so it's a sneaky thing. Depression is real sneaky, and it can out of some of the mental health issues that are very common is depression and anxiety. Those are the two. And I'm going to put torment in there too. I don't know if you know about torment, but torment is usually when you have thoughts that are overly negative and sometimes violent about yourself, right? And your self-image. And when it took me a long time to figure out what tormenting thoughts were. Sorry, because I don't feel like I've had them. But really, the tormenting thoughts can be, I hate myself. I'm so dumb. I never get anything right. I am ugly. I'm not worthy of love. Those type of things are tormenting thoughts that hunt you, that they repeat themselves in your head and you repeat them to yourself over and over again, or you even have nightmares that the tormenting thoughts kind of show up there in the form of things that happen. So I know that's another thing that I've heard is horrible and it's been a hard thing for people. So, so those are like the top three things. And so the more we talk about it and get used to talking about it, I think that's when we'll be able to be accountable as a community and say, you know what? I'm not feeling it today. And I know I'm normally positive, but I don't want to pretend and I need some support. That's where I want us to get to. I want us to get to the point where your strong friends, because I'm a category of one of strong, your strong friends are able to say, you know what? I'm having a rough week. I'm having a rough week and I don't know what to do. And I need some help. That's the goal. I want us to get there, that level of accountability. Yeah, that's another thing, Auntie Cynthia, panic attacks. And I usually sometimes put panic attacks and anxiety attacks in the same field because usually they are, but it's another word for it. Yeah. And so that's those are very scary too, because they come on and you don't even know when they're happening. And unless you guys have ever had one, or if you have ever seen somebody have a panic attack, a lot of times it takes your breath away, it makes your heart beat fast, and it just makes you feel out of control. I think that's the best word I like to use, out of control. And you're just like, you just can't get control of yourself in that moment. And so I like to just make sure that we're really intentional about recognizing when things like that are happening to either people around us or if it's happening to us, and understanding what we can do to get out of that. I don't know if you saw my last one. I was talking about breathing techniques that I remembered, and I said I had some incident last week that when I got off work, I literally I just stopped and I started to just take a deep breath, and I just didn't even realize that breathing technique that I remembered I was doing literally helped me release. I started like tears rolled down my face, and I just had to breathe because I had just had so much stress on me. It was in my body. It was in my body. And if y'all know me, I cannot hold stress long. Matter of fact, I'm one of the people that I just think I don't hold it long. I feel like I used to hold it really well and people didn't know. And the bad part about that is that I was like a brick wall and it was not healthy. But now, baby, the littlest little thing on me you can see. And some people like, don't let them see you sweating. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that I'm not going to hold in if I'm suffering because I don't want to get used to it. I don't want to get used to masking it. If something's wrong, I want me to just deal with it and get past it so that it doesn't get comfortable. I don't want stress and, burdens to get comfortable in my body. I'm going to say that again. I don't want stress and burdens and fear and anxiety to get comfortable in my body. When it comes on me, it's extremely uncomfortable for me. And it sits right on my shoulders. It sits in my chest. And I just feel all this. And I don't like it. And so for me, when I'm like that, if there's anything I can do to get out of that stage, I have to do it in that moment because I can't function like that. Which is why I feel so sad when I know some people that like regularly, that's their regular. Like their normal is feeling stressed. Their normal is anxiety. Their normal is feeling down and very like hopeless. And so it's too much to carry. And I can see how that stress and all those things form illness in your body. Very easy. Because like I told y'all, when I get stressed, like if I have a bad conversation with somebody, stressful conversation, confrontation or something like that, I build up all this acid in my stomach and it does not feel good. And it does not. It makes me feel nauseous. And especially if it's somebody who really matters, I got in an argument with, oh my God, I am in pain for a while. And I hate it because it's just like, it's so disruptive. And it's like, my body has to come all the way back down. And it takes some time. And it's mentally, but of course the mental part takes time and all that. But it was always surprising to me that the physical part happened with it. So as I noticed that about my own body, I'm like doing an experiment myself, watching myself, that it's not hard to understand that the same thing happens with people, illnesses that are caused by a high stressful lifestyle. When you are stressing regularly and that's your regular thing, you don't even realize you carry it with you, and it does cause illness. And it's very sad because we have too many people that have illness due to stressed out lives and not really being able to figure it out and not really come into terms with whatever with the stressor and figuring out how you can get that out of your life. And so those are the type of things we need to talk about too. Being able to, I want people to live and have fuller lives and be better and figure out how to, it's one thing to survive a stressful moment because we know it's going to be temporary. It's another thing for us to lead lives that have permanent stressors in it. Okay. I want to say that again. It's one thing to survive a stressful moment and get past something that's hard. It's another thing to live a life that has stressful, permanent entities in it and around it. And for those things to be constant in our lives and cause us problems. So we have to be able to identify the two things and be able to figure out what we can change about our environments, right? Cynthia, you said you have to have good coping mechanism for episodes of depression and anxiety and life stressors. That is so true, because if you don't have the coping mechanism, you will get stuck in it. You will get stuck in it, and figuring out what your coping mechanism is everything, right? Because it's literally the difference between, like, I like to look at things in analogies. Y'all know that. So like if your car breaks down, you are vulnerable if you gotta have to call AAA and wait for them to help you out. And I mean, that's something you have, but you wait for somebody on the side of the road to come help you. But if you have your tools in the back, you have a blanket, you have this and that, you have a kit to have you ready for any type of car situation, then you're not as vulnerable. You can take action. You can say, okay, well, okay, I cannot help that my tire or my car, my tire blew out, but I have this in my car just in case to make sure I'm good. And so maybe I can go ahead and do this, or I can either call somebody and wait for them, and I can be comfortable while I'm doing that. Same thing. Okay, I hate that this episode of depression came on, or anxiety, or whatever these stressors are. But you know what? I know what triggered me. Let me figure. These are the things I know that I can do that's going to help me. So y'all name some of y'all coping mechanisms. So I'm going to name some of mine. So here's a couple of mine. When I am super stressed, I told y'all about the breathing. The breathing works so much for me, especially when I'm out and I need something fast. The breathing techniques are so good for me. They're really good. Those are the things that help me immediately. If I'm at work and someone's saying something to me, and they'll know if I'm really stressed out, I'll be like, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. Because now, literally, me taking that breath could literally be the difference between me going off and me chilling out, right? Like, for real. Like, seriously, on some days, yeah. So that's like one of my coping mechanisms. Another one is I really do like to, when I'm super, super stressed, or when something's happening to me, I like to kind of walk. And it's so funny because when I'm really anxious, I walk in circles. Especially if I'm talking, I walk and I just like, I'm pacing and I'm pacing and I'm pacing. Like, I do this all the time. And I remember I didn't notice it till one day. I was like on the phone. It was an intense conversation. And I remember walking. And I had these circles I was walking. And I didn't even realize I was doing it in time. Just like, what am I doing? And it's just a thing. It's a thing I do. Amanda, you said you do. You said yep. So do you do that too? Like, that was a thing for me. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So I walk. That's just a thing. Something else for me. I can get fidgety. So it's like I know y'all see me doing this stuff like this. I am a fidgety person. This is what I do know. That's why I like these nails. I'm a fidgety person, so I do know sometimes when when something's going on, I need to kind of you'll see me do a lot of stuff, move a lot around, and that's just how it is. So you'll see me doing this. It's just me. It's how it goes. Heidi, you said that you paint. That's good. And I want to get into more painting because I've done a couple of paint sips and I really enjoy how relaxing that is. And I never painted before. So it's super cool. I'm like, I need to do this more often. Matter of fact, y'all told me, listen, I'm going to put a paint and sip on my calendar soon. I honestly will, because they play the music, you can have something to sip on and you can paint. And I really remember being just so calm and feeling very relaxing with the stroke of it. It was very therapeutic. Matter of fact, I know somebody even does paint therapy. So I said I need to do more of that. So yeah, I could definitely see that, Heidi. Hey Heidi, I didn't get to say hi to you, girl. Hey. Auntie Cynthia, you said meditation, music, prayer, journaling, good support group or person. You just named a whole bunch of it. I love the meditation. More of us need to get into meditation, y'all. It's really good for us. Stop thinking it's spooky. It's really good. It's just quieting your brain down and having time to kind of get your body into alignment. It's very important. Music, listen, music is my love language. I love it. So I forgot to even think about music because that's a given. Yes, some good relaxing music. Prayer is necessary. It's so funny because when I'm really stressed out, baby, that's my first go-to, because some of y'all don't understand. If I don't pray before certain things happen, people say certain things to me. I'm human, y'all. I'm human. And I might be really on a level, but let me just say, I've had to pray in the last few weeks before answering a few people. For real. It's serious. So yeah, prayer for sure. Journaling. I don't think we talk enough about journaling. Journaling is an amazing way. Writing down your feelings, your thoughts, and just writing is very therapeutic. Very therapeutic. And it's funny because I just told my friend, I said, now that I'm out of school, I told her, Kelly, I told her, keep me accountable for writing. I need to start writing every day or just, whenever have something on my mind, and just to get used to that whole writing thing and journaling. So that's good. A good support person or group. That is so amazing. And like I tell people all the time, you don't need a whole lot of people, but you just have to have somebody that supports you. And you can call and say, hey. And if it's nothing else, I saw a post from my friend. He's not even on here today, but um, yeah, he put a post up about sometimes you just need um, to be able to call somebody and say, hey, what can I do for you? And then they just come over, and if it's just to sit with you, that's enough. Because sometimes it's nothing that can be done to take you out that moment besides somebody just being there and just being supportive. So yeah, that support person or group is amazing. So that's all necessary. Okay. Oh, Heidi, you also said writing and journaling. Yes, that's good. Yeah, I'm telling you that writing is amazing. Um, oh, you do oil and water painting? Listen, Heidi, that sounds so cool. Y'all listen, I'm a nerd. I think that's so cool. I want to do it. I'm gonna figure it out. And y'all just see I bought all these paints and all this stuff from the Dollar Tree that had all these projects on it. And I said I was gonna do more. And I am gonna do more. I'm going to do more with it. And I'm gonna take time. And this is what we're talking about. Making time for things that are going to help you in certain moments so that you don't go all the way there. So I'm gonna take my own advice and make more time to do things that make me and calm me and put me in peace. And you all should. These are amazing suggestions. All of them are good. Tracy, hey girl, you said hi, prayer and more prayer. I know that's right. Prayer is it for real. Listening to piano music. That is very soothing. A lot of classical music people talk about that too. But piano is very soothing. Journaling, and listening to water fountains and nature sound. You know what? It's so funny you said that. I really, really enjoy, and it sounds crazy, but I can go on YouTube, and that's why I like to vacation, especially at beaches. I can go on YouTube if I'm really just needing to. If I can't sleep and I'm stressed out and my body's kind of tense, I can go on YouTube and go put on ocean sounds up. Or sometimes you can just go like ask to see a view of the ocean. They have a live feed, I think. They always have one. Somebody's doing it. And you can go on there and where somebody has a camera literally on the beach and you can just watch it. It's something so soothing about the beach crashing, the waves crashing up, and the sounds of the ocean that I can close my eyes and it can help me to just relax. Something about it is very just soothing. So yes, I definitely agree with that. And nature itself is just beautiful. Just to be able, I never, it's when you're younger and when I was moving and I was always doing all this other stuff, I did not appreciate nature like I used to. I mean, when I used to travel, when I first started traveling, I had to go, go, go. I want to do excursions. I'm doing this exciting club, all that stuff. Now that I'm older, I really want to go to beautiful places and look around and just it's the perspective shift to realizing, wow, this is all God's creation. Wow, we're here and I'm alive to be able to be here, and I'm privileged, and I'm not even privileged, but I'm grateful to be here. So y'all, those were all great suggestions. And honestly, this month I think even though I had called myself calling the February, the Men's Mental Health Month. I think this month we are going to just talk about more basic mental health stuff. It's some of the stuff y'all heard, some of the stuff you won't hear that have heard already. So that's what we're going to talk about this month. And so if you guys have any questions or anything that y'all want to bring up, or if y'all have any topics that you want me to talk about, come on. I told y'all, like, this is our conversation. We're talking about it so we can move us along as a community, and so we can have the support and accountability. So yes, so this was a good first talk. So I'm glad that we got to share some stuff. I definitely want to make sure that we're on the same page. And I will finish it off here right now. Um, if you guys do think about anything else that you want to bring up, let me know. Oh, thanks, cuz. Love you. Love you, Lawrence. Um, oh yeah, Tracy, thank you for reminding me. Happy Nurses Week to all the nurses that we know and love. Happy Nurses Week, Tracy. I totally did know about it. It actually was like a Teacher's Day too the other day. It's so many appreciations, and I get it all confused sometimes. But I did forget to put that in there. So happy Nurses Day to everybody who takes care of us. What would we do without y'all? Like literally, y'all definitely add value to all of us, and we appreciate you guys. And I mean, my God, if I'd have thought about that, we could have just had a whole thing talking about nurses, because I know through the pandemic, especially, and even without the pandemic, their mental health, they have to be on lock because it's a lot taking care of people. And then even in the pandemic, having to deal with all that and watch everything, I do know that is a big thing. So next time we need to go ahead and I think I'm going to do an episode about some of our essential workers and the fragility of mental health and when you're in those high tension areas, and especially in a pandemic that we're still currently in. Okay, thank you, Miss Tracy. I appreciate that. So to everybody I know that's a nurse, y'all kick y'all do the thing, and I'm appreciative for y'all. I know quite a few. I might go ahead and go do something to tag y'all in it later. I do know quite a few nurses, and all of y'all doing the thing. You're all doing the thing. Um, oh no problem, Auntie Cynthia. Listen, I want to make sure everybody knows when it's dark. It's hard to see out sometimes, so I don't care who needs it. I'm gonna put it out there, and I think I'm gonna start doing it more often, just so people know that because you could be smiling right here and nobody knows, but you could really be having a rough time. And I'm gonna say something, and nobody, people say this sounds self-righteous, but it's not. I'm just gonna say it's real. Anybody who ever wants to talk and you're in a moment and it's dark and you can't get out of that moment, you can always message me. I don't care what time of night it is. If I'm up, I will be there, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be that person that was like, oh my God, I wish I would have known, or what could I have done? Only thing I can do is be there. And I don't know if it's anything else I can do, but be there for you emotionally and mentally, but I'm there. That's just what I'm gonna put out there. And I believe I can try. That's the best I can say, but I will be there if I know about it. So on that note, I love you guys. Have an amazing day. Y'all see this cat up here just trying to take the show. Like, I can't do her right now. I really can't. Y'all just have to see that she's on the edge of this chair. Like, I can't with her right now. So I love y'all. And you know how I always say, you are enough. You're enough to invest in figuring out your mental health and how to be the best you possible. You're enough to put the work in, and you're enough to gather the resources and information to help you out. And if you can't do it by yourself, figuring out what you need. And we're all here for that. Okay. And I don't know if y'all see this shirt. Y'all get into this shirt. I don't think I ever wore it before, but this is one of my shirts. It's the one you've seen with the men, Emotional Courage. Love this shirt, but I told y'all it's unisex. It's not just for men. I just advertised it for the men's month in February. I still have those available. And if you want to grab it, you can always go on my site. Where is it at? Oh, there it is. www.parispjohnson.com. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you. Oh, today Thursday? My God, this is fast. I got some exciting stuff coming up. I think I'm gonna do a behind the scenes tomorrow, because I have a really cool thing happening. And so really want y'all to go ahead and subscribe and make sure that y'all tap the notification thing so you can hear about anything that's going on. It's going to be cool. You're going to want to hear about it. Okay. All right, y'all have a good weekend. Bye. And don't forget to do your self-care. Do something for yourself, whether it's cook some meal you like, go out and get some air, do something, go do something like walk or skate or whatever you like to do. Go do it and have a good time. All right. Love you, Auntie Cynthia. And thank you for being on here, Heidi. I love you all. Bye, guys. Bye.